I'm Joe Smazel from the Real Estate Chicago Style podcast. We're here at the Pittsfield Building. We just had an awesome conversation and tour with the Skyscraper Guy. Many of you have seen him on TikTok or Instagram. We got a behind the scenes look at the property and know Tom a little bit better. Looking forward to taking you guys through. Welcome to the Real Estate Chicago Style podcast. I'm Joe Smazel, a broker at Intera Realty, also an owner-operator of smaller apartment buildings on the north side at Smazel Apartments. We've got the Skyscraper Guy with us today.
I'm in.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you
Thanks for making the time. Enjoyed a lot of the content.
Cool.
It's good to be here with you today. Where I wanted to start is when I remember reading the Cranes article when you bought the Pittsfield Building.
Sure.
And the Pittsfield Building, for anybody in Chicago real estate, it's been on the radar. Incredibly historic building, storied past, more recently kind of a troubled past.
Yeah.
And I remember reading the article when you bought it, and I said, Tom, from Grand Rapids, so tell me about your background.
Yeah,
tell me
sure.
about how you became the Skyscraper Guy.
Yeah. Well, you're right. First off, in terms of the building, yes, it was a very troubled past, this building. In fact, in one of the videos I did, I throw down this scroll, and those are all
I've seen
facts,
them all.
right?
Yeah,
that we're going to be going through.
For me, it's like Seinfeld. Like I could quote all the old articles. You could reference anything in your content.
Right. And so I remember, funny story. I was at an event, right? This building has probably gone through 20 different developer hands.
Yeah.
Everybody and their brother was trying to buy it for 10 plus years, okay? And I remember buying this building in 23, and I went to a networking event, and they're like, what do you got going on? I'm like, I just kind of, this building downtown, and they kind of looking to do some stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the guy says to me, after I bought it, mind you, it's like 6 months, or 3-4 months after, and he says, the Pittsfield Building. We're so close to buying that thing. We're literally ready to we've been through underwriting, and I go, really? And so that just goes to a testament about how troubled this building was and how many people tried to do something in this building.
Yeah.
And it was really, when you ask about, how did the Skyscraper Guy get created? Yeah. And it was opportunity. When all those other developers were looking at it it was prior to COVID. Yeah. So the vision of what the building was exactly what everything was prior to COVID, which was a hotel, something, office was very good, mixed commercial use, right? Yeah. And so that was the problem. That was pre-COVID. And what happened when it allowed someone like myself to come into the game, or all the skyscraper games, is COVID, because 80% of skyscrapers are offices. And when COVID happened, we clearly knew what happened to offices. Yeah. They completely
especially
fell
in
out
the loop,
bottom.
In the loop,
we're in a financial district, right? And a lot of buildings really suffered. Yeah. And so this created this vacuum for people like me that just do a lot of math and understood. And I thought, half the time when we really win in real estate is our basis is really good. We got room to say, well, maybe we can play around and lose a couple million here and be okay,
Talk about your basis, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll interrupt you. Talk about
Sure. I mean, it's nothing, private, right? So we bought this tower that we're standing in right now for $7.5 million. And
300,000 square feet?
Yeah, this whole building's about almost 500,000.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's bifurcated, which there's different things we're working through right now.
$20 a foot, $25 a foot.
About, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been able to buy other things.
The price of a single-family home in Lincoln Park.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, we've bought entire city blocks here in the Loop for less than $8 a square foot, blocks. And so it's just created this vacuum. Apologize for the sound, by the way. It's a very active
that's the whole
site.
Thing. I like it. I mean, you got a team swarming down here. We got people coming in and out of the Pittsfield Cafe. It's urban city, man. We're good.
We're working.
Keep it going.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're working.
Yeah.
So to go back to that, Skyscraper Guy was created because of COVID. It created this opportunity for let's call it new blood, new investor. Yeah. Old money, new money. right?
New energy, new vision,
Correct.
different
Completely
approach,
different.
flip it on
Completely
its
different.
head, the whole, everything is different.
You got to look at everything different.
Yeah.
We are in a space called adaptive reuse, which is let's readapt this to what it is.
Yeah.
We know housing is needed here, right?
Yeah.
Especially in these empty buildings. If it can't be an office anymore, what can it be?
Yeah.
And it's a basic question, but people don't actually sit there and think about it. They don't pencil it. They start thinking, well, what about the systems? And I'm like, I don't know, figure it out, right? Like,
yeah.
It's a shell. So, yeah.
So you have the basis is as right gets, right? I mean, you're $20-25 a foot for this. I mean, I told the Skyscraper Guy when we came in, it's like, it takes your breath away a little bit. You know, the detail in this building and like the history that you can feel when you walk in. You could never build it again today.
Correct.
Even if you were to build a more sterile version of it today, it'd be a multiple of 15, 20 times a foot or
at
more.
Least, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the basis is right. But the basis in a case like this is only part of it's a $200+ million project too. So the basis is like less than 5% of the deal. For a lot of people that might not understand, what is it? Talk to us a little bit about the capital stack for a deal like this. I mean, it's a much more complex project than somebody could see and be like, oh my God, bought that much real estate for $7.5 million.
Yeah.
Tell us, you still got to do a lot right to get it to a project that is like your vision coming to fruition, right?
Absolutely.
So what's been some of the complexity in that?
So just because we buy a piece of property, we have a vision for what it could be.
Yeah.
But unless the city approves that vision, you don't have anything, right? In this case, we said, we want to make apartments, 400+ more apartments, and we want more open public space. So we have to get that approved, which is the hardest part in a lot of ways because it's zoning, it's all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
Fortunately, after literally 12 years, we were able to achieve that in October. And that was the rocket ship, because now you can put a real stack together. Because now you know what you're going for to the bank. You're doing. You know exactly what you can do.
Yeah, it's no longer this.
Correct. Correct.
It's
Otherwise,
no longer imagination.
Yes.
It's like, here, this is what we have.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. And so everyone kind of looks at you like, I don't know, they're doing it. I'm like, well, it took 2 years to put all of that together, and finally, when we pulled it off,
I think you did a few things really right in that process. Number one is you proposed uses that are in demand, right?
Yes.
So like you weren't trying to jam a square peg in a round hole, or whatever the expression is. I mean, you were trying to actually utilize this building into what the public wants, right?
Yes.
Public space, housing. The other thing that I think you did really well is the promotion of it.
Sure.
And like giving people a sneak peek behind the curtain, and this positivity that you bring, this energy that you bring, this humility that you bring, this humor that you bring to it, I think is very different. We were talking about that a little bit before we started, and it's like, I think that personifies it a little bit. I know it's all brand, and I know that's not an accident for you. So talk to us about like the social media element of it, and this idea of creating this brand behind it to support the economics of this building, this undertaking that you have.
So there's no other skyscraper guy in the world. The concept of when we do brands, how do we differentiate ourselves? The purple cow scenario, right? And I knew in the industry of skyscrapers before COVID, it was really tight.
Yeah.
It did not allow for people like me to come in the game.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's still people out there today that literally hate on me because we're doing things that are supposed to be coveted in so many ways. That's
supposed to be pension funds and
whatever it is,
institutional and out of reach for
it's out of reach
for
right?
guys.
This is like the mindset and for the longest time I felt that way too. Like, oh, I'm doing something real big. You really can't understand it,
Yeah.
And then it dawned on me, I'm like, this is such a beautiful building.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful building that it can't be withheld from the public. You got to share this kind of stuff. And so, and that mindset, right?
And then also it's this level of appreciation for after the fact, okay?
Yes.
Because if you don't see the journey in it, then it can be done, and everything can go really well. People will still appreciate it because you've taken this building that's been left behind, the scaffolding's been up for a decade or whatever, and you brought it back to life. That's great, it's appreciated. But if you show them the story. It's much more than that. It's much deeper because you see it along the way, right?
That's right.
You see you climbing up the, the elevator shafts with the hazmat suit on, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was just a job well done. I think this business can be too sterile sometimes, and giving people a look behind the scenes, I think, was a really smart thing.
Think about any other skyscraper owner that would never go in the top of a building like that.
You're nuts.
Or they would
you're
never
nuts.
do any of these things, right?
I mean, I watch some of them, and I feel like I'm watching that guy that just climbed this. It's like my palms
People
start
don't
to
know
sweat.
who to tag.
By the way, I know we're going to walk around. I'm not going anywhere. I'm kind of scared of heights. So anyway, these buildings have been on sale, right? I mean, these buildings, and there's a lot of them in the city that could use a shot in the arm, right? So why the Pittsfield Building? In addition to the basis, in addition to the opportunity, but it's more than that, right? Because there's other buildings that would have the rich history, that would have kind of a blank slate, and that you could buy pretty cheap. So why this one?
Okay, so it's very specific when you're thinking office to resi conversion, okay? There's very specific reasons.
Yeah.
And what that comes down to is not all buildings can be converted to residential. That's the main game of what we do, adaptive reuse.
Yeah.
Take it and put it something else. And office to resi is being financed really well right now. So it's main focus. Now, when you think about buildings like the Pittsfield, built 1927, okay? Buildings actually built prior to 1935. We call these kind of like the roaring 20s era.
Yeah.
People who came to work before 1935.
Yeah, a lot of the stock in the city.
Yeah.
This type of product in the neighborhoods too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They came to work and they enjoyed work. There's actually buildings that I have that have smoking ledges because they would go and hang out.
Yeah.
And everyone got a window. So what that means, when you say, well, why the Pittsfield Building? It's not just why the Pittsfield Building. Why do we own other buildings that are built in this era? It's because prior to that 1935, buildings either have an atrium like this, or they're shaped like an H. So you got your elevators in the middle, and then wings, and everyone gets a window. Atrium, everyone gets an interior window. Buildings built after 1935 goes into World War II, and now people came and they're working.
They're kind of like what do you call that? Where it's a single load or double load or whatever. You kind of walk around. You go into the office, and it's like a maze when you get in there, right? It makes it a lot more challenging for the floor plates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Center shaft elevators. So you think about buildings like the Aon Building or any of these big squares, big rectangles. You can't have 1,800 square foot units with just 3 windows at the end and have hundreds of those. Nobody's going to rent those. You see the difference?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the history, and I don't want to, you've talked about the history too in your channel, so I don't want to be redundant to that. Talk to us about, I know your bio is, or your tagline is, I think, preserving the history while building for the future.
Correct.
So maybe I got it a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
What's the future here?
Right.
Talk to us about what the project is.
So
how many apartments, configuration of the units, how are you going to kind of unlock some of the common area space, the amenity space? I know you talked about some public use here.
And that's probably what we're most excited about is the public space. But also these new builds that we're doing, okay? So this building, as it sits today, already has 228 apartments in it.
Yeah.
So we're building another couple hundred.
Just for the, for the sake of clarification, that's floors 10 through
10
20?
all the way up to 21.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Those are,
and so what you have is it's vertically subdivided, right? So ownership is kind of bifurcated here. So you own everything else, right? So you're adding.
we own 80% of the building.
Yeah, okay.
And then, as we go through, it's meant to be all in one big building, one big ownership.
Yeah.
And so the apartments that we're building are going to be a little more unique, and it kind of goes into this social media aspect of it. We've been able to create this incredible funnel of, one, people who are on a wait list to come in, but more importantly, people who want to help save this 100-year-old skyscraper. So we take these savings from all of these different people that want to contribute, and we pass that on to the development, meaning these apartments are going to be very much condo finishes, but for an apartment. So gold faucets, mahogany, hallways that are original 1920s, bedrooms that are like 1920 vibes. That's not normal because no developer could pencil that cost.
Yeah.
We are able to do that because of what we've structured. Totally different. So we're very excited about bringing that to market because that's going to be leaning
into the vintage, but without compromising any of the amenities that somebody coming in today expects. Yeah.
Right. But now when we talk about the public space, that's the very, very unique thing. And as we go up and see more of the building, as a normal developer, we look at a top of a building and we say penthouse, 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 50 grand a month, 50 grand a month.
Yeah.
That's how most of the developers think.
Yeah.
Because that's what you could take to the bank. Because if you try to do anything else, you're saying, bank, I'm going to spend $20 million to make this observation deck. They're going to say, yeah, go finance that piece somewhere else.
Yeah,
That's what they're going to say.
It's too abstract.
Where are you going to? How is it going to make its money back? This and that. But it's all mathematics. But it's more than mathematics. It's about, well, it's not a if you build it, will they come? That's kind of the trick that you're playing with the bank. We don't have that problem because we have hundreds of millions of views on socials with millions of inquiries and comments and DMs of people saying, hey, we want to go see that building at the top.
It validates something that's different, because without that, it's just different.
Exactly.
Without the validation, then you have to go to them and you just have to say, hey, we really think there's a market for this.
Exactly.
And a bank doesn't have this entrepreneurial vision. They don't have this. They need to see the validation. So when you go show people, like, look, here's the support that we have for doing it this way. It kind of flips it on its head, right? So you're able to do something a little bit more radical.
That's right. We have a wait list of hundreds of thousands of people. Well, you probably should do that. You know? Right? And so as we go up, you see that, and then when you go up there, I ask you, like, hey, is this view worth X dollars? And then you do the math in your head, right? And you're like, oh, this should work, you know?
When you have something like this, you know, something that struck me is, how do you like, when I was listening to your content, it's clear that you're passionate for it, even when you hear you talk for 5 or 10 minutes, however long. Clearly you're passionate about that. How do you balance the love for the art and the architecture this building represents with the economics of it? Because those two can be in conflict with each other, right? So sometimes, even if you want to do it a certain way, how do you think about that?
Well, you have to remember that when you do buy these older buildings, you have to account for that part. Like that's just a line. Even facade work. Any building that's over 200 feet that has a facade on
critical facade inspection.
You're minimum 10 million, just off the cut. But you are restoring. You are also typically dealing with landmark. So you can account for that, but then you also realize, hey, if we do this, you get credits because you're doing something that no one else can do. So you can pencil it in that way.
You have some historic tax credits as part of the capital stack, I assume?
Exactly, Okay. I mean, you get it. That's what you get. This is a landmark building. And so you put that as part of your stack. So it helps bring the load down, right? Then it just becomes a normal deal at that point. When you add things like public space, that provides more juice to investors and things like that, because that's not normal, right? So you get that factor, that multiple.
When you were buying it, I mean, there's due diligence, and then there's like, wow, this is just you can never know every nook and cranny of this. I mean, I've seen you discovering some sections of the building. How do you think about that in terms of like the risk in it, right? Like it's good and bad. You could say, something that was a surprise that you found that was negative. You could say something that was really positive that you discovered. But like, you just have to have, when you're buying something like this, and you have, it's a $200+ million project, it's 300,000 square feet. Like, you just have to have a margin for rolling with the punches, right? How did you think about that when you bought this?
So that's probably the big difference between myself and maybe other developers is I've always taken risk. I'm either 110% in, or I'm totally out. Right? That's how you have to approach
Makes it cleaner that way. It's
right. And so, believe it or not, the due diligence, this was a foreclosure. What happens in a foreclosure? Sight unseen. You go in, you can't even get financing for that. You gotta literally do a cash deal, however you have to do it. So this was can you believe it? All these floors, 40 stories, and I didn't even get to see any of them. I just said,
we're buying it right.
Should work.
I'm going to throw my heart into it.
Should work. They're like, it's low enough. We should make this work. And you just think about, okay, what are the main pieces that I could activate immediately that can help offset that 7.5? Well, we got apartments with this acquisition. We got active first floor retail. Just those two pieces alone should cover what we need on the nut. So it's like, when we look at that and think about the risk, I didn't actually understand why no one else thought about it. I thought I was I thought it's crazy. Thinking, why do I know this math and no one else does? I couldn't quite figure that out.
Well, there's an expression, Warren Buffett expression in that, right? Be bold when others are fearful, or whatever it is,
Well, because remember, think of the game before I came in. They would come in, they would sit, and no one else is in the game. We're just going to sit here. Let's wait till it gets to $500,000. Then we'll buy it. You know? But let's see how, in a way, like, let's see how, it's greed in a lot of ways. Like, let's wait. They can just keep suffering.
Well, and you have to be patient enough. I mean, that was 2.5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so you have to be patient enough to see.
Oh yeah,
it through,
and that,
right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. So
what are the next steps with the project? We're sitting here, just to put a timestamp on it, we're sitting here in February 2026. So
Sure.
talk to us about what's on the horizon this year here.
Well, right now we're going through.
I know we got people swarming down here, so it's
everywhere.
lively.
Yeah, that's right. So we're just getting all of the bids in place to get construction loan, to get all the different pieces in place. We should probably see this building. I know this sounds crazy, but I know it's possible for certain parts of the building. Because remember, we're not building like a completely gutted building. We're building only an extra 100 and so apartments.
Yeah.
That's not that much.
Yeah.
And all the infrastructure is here.
Yeah.
So that's what people have to remember. And as you go through the floors with me and we see them, they're empty. They're already abated. They're already cleared. That alone clears 18 months off your schedule. That puts us at a 2027, 28 completion.
Okay.
Which is incredibly fast, but we're halfway there.
How much of the infrastructure was usable? How much of it was obsolete? You know, in terms of like elevators, plumbing risers, that sort of thing.
That's an interesting question. You know, when you go into these big buildings, one of the biggest costs that could literally help destroy a deal is elevators.
How many elevators are here?
There's 16.
Yeah.
Right? And each one of them is $1.5 million,
Yeah.
right? Fortunately, you don't need that many.
Yeah.
You only need 1 per 100 unit. This is kind of the code.
Yeah.
And so knowing we have all that, that means all the empty elevators now become infrastructure. That's the other thing when you think about adaptive reuse is you have these hollow shafts where you can run all your systems in addition to whatever's already there.
Are you going to leave the doors on the first floor though? I love the doors.
They have to stay.
You got it. Okay.
Everything you physically see, like right now, has to stay and be updated. Even the chandelier and
it's
everything.
landmark, not just extra, inside too.
Inside.
You have to preserve. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, a layer of complexity that a lot of people wouldn't.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, and it'd be a shame. Like, it's just the chandeliers, all of the tray ceilings, the detail around it is outrageous.
When this shines up, I mean, even the chandelier as we go up, you'll see it. It's so dusty right now. This thing shines like glass. And we're restoring everything here in the building. Nothing is going off site.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about social media because, like everybody tries to do it.
Sure.
I try to do it to some extent. And you, like, as a real estate developer, you've also become a real personality. You went from being this guy that everybody was like, who bought that? To like now more people probably know you in the Chicago real estate landscape than arguably any other developer. Yeah. So I understand the initiative for the brand, but you approached it noticeably differently, you know, and so climbing around the building, you're having fun with it, you're energetic about it. I mean, you could talk to us about what you're releasing this afternoon. Like, that's not just an accident, right? So talk to us about like how that was how that came to be, how the Skyscraper Guy as we see him today came to be, because I think you have 500,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah. I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know how to measure that.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of views that you referenced earlier.
Yeah.
Like, that's a business too, right?
Sure.
I mean, how did you do that so well so quickly when a lot of people probably cringe at most of the real estate
absolutely
content that's out there?
Yeah. So it starts with the story and the right team. So there's our brand manager is named Elliot.
Yeah.
And he's a lot of the vision behind telling the story. He understands the demographic that lives in the bracket of 18 to 40, you know, right there.
Yeah.
In terms of how the amount of time they need to see from when we do cuts to even the music choices.
Yeah.
These are really important things in terms of how
more
we
of a production than people would appreciate.
Correct.
I'm sure.
It's a huge production.
So shout out Elliot.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And so
but it still has to hit.
It still has to hit.
Yeah.
And so
it's gone viral, I imagine, beyond your expectation. Maybe not because you think big. Okay. I appreciate that.
But even, for example, we did this mail video, and it's got I think it's over 6 million views on the mail shoot video.
Yeah.
And it completely hit a different demographic. People, it's like they've never seen these things before. And they were just not, unless you lived in a building, had a mail shoot, you would never know.
Yeah.
And so when we approached Skyscraper Guy, there's a lot of funnel that happens from that. But just like when we do deals and we're trying to raise money, let's say equity, because that's the name of the game. When we're doing real estate, it's syndication.
It's still the lifeblood of the business,
Exactly.
right? Like you can have all these ideas, but if you don't have the money, you can't get
Correct.
it. Yeah.
And as a sponsor, the one who puts the deal together, you can only do so much, right? Hey, I'll help lead this round. I put the risk forward, right? But then you got to get other people to see that vision, see that excitement. You don't sell them by saying, you got to remember, that same investor you might want to talk to, they're probably talking to 10 other guys that can give them a 20% IRR.
Yeah.
You're no different than whoever else. So the presentation has to be exactly the way you see it on socials. It's nothing about how much return. It's a byproduct of doing a good project. So you present the cool, the fun, like, this is an exciting project, here's why, look at all these things.
Yeah.
And now it opens up a window where people are like, I want to be a part of that. And now, and then as a sponsor, you're like, well, what way would you like to be a part of it? Right? Because the general public, you got to remember, they've never even had opportunities to be a part of a skyscraper when you think about that.
Have you, so the part about the social media funnel that you're creating and creating customers and creating the proof of concept for this is easier for. Are you also seeing a lot of investors come to you by way of your channel? Or is it more of like a reinforcer? Is it like, hey, you know, it's a network that you've always talked to in your other projects and stuff, but now look what we have going, like, or is it new inbound people wanting to be a part of it? From an investment standpoint?
Yeah, from an investment standpoint, if I told you the real numbers, it's to the point so much where we're creating a structure called a REIT. Because the fund has grown to that amount.
So is your equity fully subscribed here?
It's always, because if it were one-off buildings, yes. But because there's so much that people want to participate and see these visions, there's other buildings that we have here in the loop. At the end of the day, what we have vested in Chicago is in the billions, plural. And so people can partake in that exactly like Pittsfield, but because we're doing one project at a time, we can't just overload everyone, say, there's another one, another one, another one. We have to do it all together.
So you've got, the Pittsfield is the one I see in like your
That's right.
You know, in the content, and I gather now that you're doing it kind of sequentially. So what's next for the Skyscraper Guy? I mean, can you speak to any of those other projects that are in the pipeline, whether you already own them or whether they're kind of just on the radar?
So we do own other ones, okay?
Why are you more private about those than this one?
It's not necessarily that we're private about it. It's because we're working on something that has to release in seasons. If that makes sense. We can't just release them all at once.
No, it's fair. I mean, I understand.
So what this one is just getting started, and there's so much more to experience in this building. But the other buildings, for example, when we start buying skyscrapers, okay? People have to remember, where are you normally buying a skyscraper? It's in a city. And normally when you're buying one, you're not normally just doing one because you're responsible for all these hundreds, thousands of people living, hundreds of apartments, right? And you do another one, you got more hundreds of apartments. It's not necessarily just about the one skyscraper anymore. You're realizing that you're now directing tax money. You're directing a movement in an area. So now we don't focus necessarily just on buying skyscrapers. We focus on shaping cities. And so when we talk about another project that will be rolling out probably in 6 months or so, is the city block that we bought, right? And realizing that we need to have, when you have that much housing, you can't just build all these apartments. You need to have infrastructure. You need to have a school, grocery store, and any other type of entertainment. So this one building, it's a massive building. So we have mixed parts. We have a school concept, K through 12, not just like a high school, it's K through 12. So that families are living, because now Chicago has a very strong initiative for urban living. Completely different concept, urban living, right? Not here to work.
Not that you're just taking the metro down and you're out.
They're here to live here. So school, then we have a farming system. So then we're doing a big proof of concept for farming. That is a lot, like millions of pounds a year. As we prove that out, then there's other buildings that can't be office to resi that we convert into farming.
Did you like grow up in the business, or how did you?
No,
what's your background?
the only business.
So when you speak, when we, I don't know, I know I'm going way back now,
Sure.
and totally out of order, but like when you talk about doing your part to shape a city like Chicago, right, and like the amount of people that'll live here, the amount of people that'll come in and out for the public uses, the amount of people you're putting to work by getting a $200 million deal done. I mean, it's easy to sit here and talk about it and say like, you feel like you're maybe above what you're like. I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. Like it's a massive undertaking with all these ripple effects that are incredibly meaningful. Like, what'd you start with? Like, how did you get there? Do you ever take a second and like think about the gravity of what you're doing? You know, and the
as you know, that's
I know
that's
that
an
was
interesting.
a shitty like intro.
No, I understand the question. No, I understand the
question.
question.
It's like this is big stuff.
Yeah.
Did you kind of grow up in this, or is this? How do you appreciate what you're doing today?
No, and this is a good question because it's important for audience to know to know this.
Yeah.
Is that I didn't grow up with this. I grew up. My first job was a chicken farm, and I share this story all the time. Like I literally, before an egg, saw a human hand. Like right now, if you get an egg, it's all automated. Chicken comes out of chicken, it goes in a carton, and never sees a human hand until you open that carton.
Yeah.
You know, that's how far along automation has come. Before all that, I was the guy that had to take the trays of chicken, put it on my chest, and put it in a big washer. That was my job.
Not as glamorous, huh?
No, man.
Not all this is glamorous, but
right.
Yeah.
And so, when you ask like the appreciation of what I do, it's you appreciate. You know, it's kind of saying, why did I go 110 in on this and like all in? Is because I never had anything to lose because I started with nothing.
Yeah.
So everything I get is you appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right. And so.
I appreciate you getting there with the answer, even though I rambled about the question. But
no,
you
but
understood it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you get so wrapped up in the day-to-day of what could come of this, and you know, looking at this, just standing in the atrium and seeing what you have your vision, and seeing the impact that it'll have on the city and people's lives and living here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. As you get into it, then you realize you have a lot of responsibility. You know, God's been given something to you, and you got a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And so you think about that, and that's when you realizing that you're just not doing a skyscraper.
Yeah.
You're doing a whole city.
This is an ecosystem.
Correct.
It's a whole,
Correct. And if you focus on I'm just doing the skyscraper, it's the same as saying, I'm just going to do a duplex.
Yeah.
Right? And you see where if you were just to focus on a duplex, you're always going to do a duplex.
Yeah.
But if you focus, if you go outside of just skyscraper, say, we're going to need a school, we're going to need grocery, we're going to need entertainment. You realize that you're responsible for a lot more stuff to keep your rent up.
And then in the spirit of what you talked about at the beginning of having this this proof of concept and this support behind you, now you can go with this the next project sounds like it'll be more ambitious yet. You can go to the public and say, I understand there's a lot of moving pieces here, but here's the public's appetite for it.
Yes.
Here's the support we have.
Correct.
Here's what we're doing at the Pittsfield when nobody else could do it.
Right.
Here's what we're going to do next. And then they don't look at it, the lenders, the investors, the city won't look at it as this crazy guy with an abstract idea.
Sure.
They'll say, okay, this guy's actually getting it done. He's crazy enough to get it done.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, that's the hope. That's the idea. But socials further solidify and validate those things because they see it without ever meaning.
Yeah.
And you can go to City Hall and everyone's like, that's the guy.
This is a skyscraper guy.
This is a skyscraper guy. And
how
they
often
see
people
it.
see you out and about?
If I were to
I know you split time between Grand Rapids and here. But.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. If you don't wear a hard hat, no one will recognize you. It's a secret power. It's like Clark Kent,
Yeah.
Put the hard hat on and that's the guy. They'll yell for me on the street, right?
That's awesome, man.
I just learned the other day, the guys that do the bus tours, and the boat tours, they see the Pittsfield and they say, you might recognize that. That's the skyscraper. They say that in the tours now. I'm like, that's so dope.
That's awesome. Man.
So, yeah. It's been, but it helps. It helps with all those things.
Yeah.
But when you're doing all these different, the validation, because then they're more supportive, saying, "Hey, this could be something really big. And when you look at all the comments and things that we have, it's all the positive stuff about Chicago. They didn't even know this thing exists here.
I mean, of course, there's crazy people in the comments at that scale, regardless of what you're doing. Yeah. But if you're rooting for the city, why wouldn't you root for you? That's what I understand. If you love Chicago, why wouldn't you root for the Pittsfield coming online? You know,
sure.
Jobs, tax revenue, but then also this piece of history coming back to life that's been like sad for a while.
That's
you know,
right. Yeah.
So keep at it.
Well,
can you walk us around a little bit?
Yeah. So right now we are on the second floor. This is a very important floor because this is the staging floor for what you're gonna see is our observation deck. And what I mean by staging floor is this entire second floor is gonna actually be a commercial floor. Oh. We originally had it structured to be apartments. You can see them all here, right?
Yeah.
And as we've got more and more interest in the building, and when we calculated how many people are gonna go through this observation deck that we can't have them all congregate in the atrium because it can only hold 400 people at any given time. We expect about 2,000 to 3,000 people an hour coming through the building.
Jeez.
So now we have all this commercial space that we're gonna be leasing out. So we've changed it. And if this whole wing that you see here, the standard of living with the CTA there might not be that great, right? Because you're looking at the subway and so on.
Yeah.
So instead, we've decided to make it a full museum, as you can see here. So this is a full museum.
Like a nod to the building or Jewelers Row in general, or what's the?
A nod to the building, 1927. Everything in this museum comes from the building, okay?
Dang.
And so it's a little modified from this plan. It wraps around here, and then all these are commercial spaces.
What do you have in mind for the commercial? I mean, do you expect it to be kind of a rebirth of Jewelers Row?
It's going to be most likely. It's going to be jewelers. It's going to be tradespeople who are selling, you know, the pick of the litter right now is so much that we're trying to figure out. We're almost picking it to what's the story.
Yeah, you got to kind of curate it a little bit.
Yeah,
you
not
can't
just like,
take
hey,
the
here's a
first
space.
lease. I mean, it has to be additive to what you're doing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because imagine you got a storefront that they literally have to hang out here.
Yeah.
Thousands of people a day have to literally stand here, and they're gonna go in your store. You can't. It's not. It's a different type of mall.
Like you're in. I know this isn't the same use. You're in Seattle. You go to City Market. It's very thoughtful. It's not just any business.
Correct.
It's like it's this fresh produce or like local art or whatever. So it'll kind of breed on itself.
Right. Yeah. This space
should be your office. Come on.
So we're partnering with a few universities for this space, and what it means is this chandelier, to be restored, would have to go off site. But we said, why would we do that? We have so much room. So we came up with this concept where we tested it. We removed the window. So we removed this window, we built the scaffolding, and that big old chandelier gets brought over on scaffolding into this space.
Oh my God.
Along with all the other brass and woodwork and marble. It all happens here because this is a live preservation lab. So as people are waiting to go up to the elevator, to the observation deck, they are exploring the museum, and they're able to actually partake in the preservation of the chandelier and other material in the building as a live experience while it's all here.
Was that your idea?
Yeah, that was my idea. So that's what this area is.
That's pretty cool.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, 5th floor, top of the atrium. You can see here kind of this, those are supposed to be like glass, those little shells that you see on top.
Yeah.
This whole thing holds about 200 light bulbs. And because nobody did anything to the building, they just cut the wires that light that up, and they just left the bottom one on. When we
so you're saying the whole drop, whatever that's called, is lit generally?
Everything.
Like up here?
Yeah, the ball, the cylinder, it is completely different. But because the last guy didn't do a damn thing, right? When we came here, there was no bullshit, 12 light bulbs in there.
It's so sad.
We put over
it's like a microcosm of it.
Right? It's insane, man.
Yeah.
This is how all the floors look right now in the base.
Oh, the windows are incredible.
Yeah, they're much bigger.
I didn't appreciate the size of the windows.
Yes.
Because when you're on the street level, you got that old shitty scaffolding.
Huge. These are huge windows.
So floors 2 through 5 are like this?
2 through 9 are like this.
2 through 9?
Completely cleared. So when you think about that, it expedites your process.
Yeah.
Because you got to deal with all kinds of things when you start demoing.
And this floor will be apartments?
All this will be apartments on this, everything above 2.
How many units per floor?
It depends. This one, we don't have interior units, so you're only gonna get about 12 on this floor.
Okay.
These corridors actually have to stay. So that's the interesting thing.
Because of the landmark? Yeah.
So what's interesting about this is this floor was covered with glue and carpet, okay? And the guys right now, it's not really construction, it's just cleaning, okay? Can you imagine for how many years, probably 20, 30 years, it was this floor was under a glue and carpet.
Sad, dude.
That's what happens when you don't. It was weird. It's like prior to 2020, nobody cared about this stuff.
Yeah.
After 2020, it's like now everybody wants this. It's not. It's hard to say nostalgia because we didn't live in the era, but this craftsmanship is coming back.
Yeah, you feel the history of the building if you see this stuff, but if it's sterile, then you don't. If it's just carpet or LVT or whatever, you don't get that nostalgia. You don't get that vintage feel.
And what's crazy is this is 3/4 inch thick, this marble.
Jeez.
This building weighs twice as much as a normal building of its size today. So if this is 557 feet, so if you do another 557 feet building today, this is twice as heavy because it's got 2.5 feet per floor gap.
It's super quiet. So you're in a high rise.
You won't hear anyone
but you're
below
not
you.
going to hear anybody,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Because 3/4 inch thick, you think about that. So this is kind of
Does that help you also with your layouts, being able to, because you don't have as many you have as many encumbrances, and like when we're on the 5th floor, it's wide open.
Yeah.
It's kind of a blank slate. Did that give you a lot more creativity in the way you were able to lay them out?
These ones, remember these came like this. So we got these floors like this, but you saw the empty floor.
Yeah.
Those are gonna be
How many were like this?
3, 10, 11, 12.
Okay, cool.
So when you think about what you pay for this building, you get 51 apartments.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer. Think about the income of 51 apartments.
Yeah.
It's more than 7.5, right? So.
Are you gonna have any for short term?
Yeah, all of these 3 floors. So this is an example of like an Airbnb that we're prepping. Think about it, think about the units you have. You buy a building for 7.5, where else in the country are you gonna be able to buy 51 units for 7.5?
Yeah, you're in the
Forget
middle of the
everything
loop.
else.
Yeah, in the middle of the loop, right? Yeah.
That's it. That's insane. So
And then you have the retail, and then
yeah.
Originally, what was the use? Was it mixed or was it all office?
This became the most doctors and dentists in the world. 775 medical offices in this one building.
This was like life sciences before life sciences.
Yeah.
Medical office before medical office.
And it's interesting because when you go in the basement, you can see these infrastructure pieces that they had.
Yeah.
They had all these compressors in the basement so that these dentists could have, you find air, maybe we'll see some like air pipes.
Oh, geez.
Plenums that went all the way to the basement.
It's also like, even way back then, you see the way that like a building can kind of form and kind of create this like snowball effect.
Yeah.
And you get this medical use, and then it just kind of it turns into the brand of the building. Even back then it was like
Right. So this is a Marshall Fields estate building.
What floor are we on?
We're on 25.
Okay.
So we're now in the tower portion of the building. Tower meaning you got a base, then you got a tower, then you got a head. So if you look at these plans, this bold area is what we're in, okay? And you're gonna get a vision of what like a 3-bedroom looks like, a 2-bedroom, or like a 1-bedroom and a studio. So like a 1-bedroom goes there, a studio will go here, and this whole area would be a 3-bedroom. So you can kind of see the views. This is the same view from every floor 21 and up.
This is fantastic.
And
what do you figure you get for, like, I don't know whether you're measuring by per foot or on a chunk price for these different layouts?
So if we were to break it down, if we market rate for what we expect with the way we're doing our units, let's say a studio will probably average between $1,400 and $1,700 depending where it's at. A 1-bedroom will be in the $2,300 to $2,500, and then your 2 bedrooms are going to be closer to $2,700 to $3,000.
I mean, I know it's not cheap, so I'm not trying to, but it is approachable still.
It's very approachable.
There's a deep, like if you looked at the curve of, you're still very much in the meat of the curve.
Correct.
Who can, you're shopping around and you want this type of living experience. Like it's strikes me as very good value still.
Yeah, yeah, and remember these units that are being built, they're not regular, regular blue
Cookie
walls,
cutter,
cookie
yeah.
cutter.
Yeah.
They're unique.
I don't think anybody could accuse you of being cookie cutter with this project, so don't worry about that.
So it's super
Let's
unique.
check out this view, though. This is fantastic.
So
this was office, huh?
This was all offices. At one point, this was actually the manager's office for the building.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
So it's a pretty incredible view, but it gets better as you go up.
Wow.
And even if you look down, you'll see there's a balcony. Some units get their own private balcony. You see that on the 24th floor.
How about having this view for a private balcony?
Yeah, everything you see there where that scaffolding is, that parapet wall that's slanted, that all goes away. Those aren't necessary. Those all become private terraces.
How many of them will have outdoor space approximately?
At least 6 or 7, yeah. We're on floor 37.
Okay.
So this is going to be the first landing of the observation deck. And so this is your food and beverage, your bar, restaurant will be up here, bathrooms will be here, and this is kind of their first stop before they go up to the top. So all these walls go away, and then they kind of get, it's 270-degree views.
Are you going to operate the food and beverage too?
It's going to be a separate operator, pays lease to the house. So,
wow.
So yeah, pretty gnarly views up here.
Yeah.
For 100 years,
you see a lot of iconic, we're in an iconic building, you see a lot of iconic buildings here too.
No one's been able to come up here if they didn't have a doctor's appointment. So now.
Yeah, they'll be in a different state of mind when they come up
now they get to come up here, which is great.
Jeez. So this will, for how many floors of how many floors of observation? I know this is F&B down here, but then how does it stack from here up? Is it all observation? The next floor observation, or
yes, this is first stage of observation deck.
Yeah.
And now we go into like the head of the building.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
So, observation deck floor. And what's going to be so unique about this floor is exactly what you're going to see right here, which is, you see these are all windows, right?
Sure.
Well, this is a step up. We're standing right here. And these are not windows. These are doors. Because what happens is, those become doors and you get to walk outside. So, I'm going to take you outside. So now, for 100 years, no one's been able to come out here. Until now.
Dude, it's different than other observation. Like we took our kids over the holidays and went to the Sears Tower observation deck. And it's very cool.
Yeah.
But it's different. You're inside.
That's right. There's only 2 in Chicago. New York has 14.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And this is the 3rd one. That's the only outdoor observation deck with this view.
It's just too bad you don't have a good view.
Dang. So you can imagine 20+ million people visit the Bean. Now, you'll be able to be in the background of 99% of the photos of the Bean.
Yeah.
You're gonna wave your arms and people are gonna say, you can go up there.
Well, it's part of the whole tourist experience. You're not, it's not a novel thing to be a tourist down here. It's established as a tourist destination.
That's right. So you can see, obviously, everything. You can even see Michigan from here.
You see New Buffalo down there? And
you see, that's
Michigan City?
All of it. On a clear day, you'll see the dunes on the other side.
Dang.
And this is the thing, there's no other view like this that's open air like this.
I imagine this is pretty spectacular at night too. Is this going to stay open enough?
Stays open at night.
See it under the lights?
Right. So it wraps all this goes away and it goes all the way around.
Dude.
So now everyone can see all these views that just you never were able to. This here, the concept is we don't have an elevator, it stopped downstairs.
Yeah.
I didn't know this, but you can actually raise elevators. So this gets cut out, motor moves up, and this is the entrance here.
Okay.
And now this becomes an 88 available floor. And then we have another elevator, which you'll see when we go upstairs.
Tom, what's
that
this?
will come here, okay? So this here is these old water tanks. They're not ballasts to balance out the building or nothing like that, what sometimes people think. Back in 1927, they didn't have domestic water pumps efficient enough yet. So they fill these up, and then the gravity feed is what pressurized the building, plus it takes a load off of the overall city water. Now we have domestic pumps, so we don't need these, okay? And so
How much do you keep any of the old MEP, like for people to kind of, I mean, obviously this is...
So what's gonna happen is like, we'll remove one, and this is when you look at the museum, you saw these like cylinders, I think. It's different, look how thick this is. They did this up here, right? That one gets cut out and then just a door, and then that becomes an experience of what that is. So you're gonna think, it's like this is like a museum, if that makes sense.
Wow.
Now we're gonna go up to there, and I'm gonna show you something real unique. All right, so now, when you go outside, you look, there's a big green copper top. That's what you're looking at right there, the copper top. See that?
It's one of the most well-known characteristics of this building, right?
So now what we're doing...
It's got the beautiful patina on it and everything.
Yeah. When you look up there, you see this big shaft. See that?
Sure.
That's the longest structure in the building. It's like 630 feet. Goes all the way to the basement. And that shaft is massive. It's like, let's call it a 5-6 feet by 14, something like that. So because it becomes obsolete, because you don't need that anymore, the whole area comes out, okay? And then what happens is, we have a special custom glass elevator that will pop people out the top.
Oh. How many people can go up there at a time?
6 people about at a time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's
they get on the elevator on like 35 or 6,
downstairs,
wherever the F&B is.
Yep. Oh, the food and beverage area, yeah.
And you can kind of roam here.
So all these catwalks, you see these? So these catwalks, you can go up and you'll experience it. All these little things will have little cutouts, little breakouts. Because remember, it's an experience.
Do you think that helped at all with like the process with the city? Like the fact that you were kind of utilizing this as...
Because now it becomes, it's an amusement.
Yeah.
It's not just a observation deck, it's an amusement ride. Just like the ledge at Sears. This is a one-off like concept in the world. So you can imagine people can come up where I was standing in my video.
This is glass here.
Yeah, so we just, this is just for concept for landmarks to understand like what we're, to do it. But it's like where I was standing in the last video, like you're standing up there. When you stand up there, it's a little different than if you were to stand flat on a surface.
Yeah, I appreciate that,
Because you get perspective of the roof.
Yeah.
So when you stand up there, it's like extra, like you're at a point. So there's nothing around you. I don't know if people are gonna be able to survive it, So.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's super unique. So when you think about this, the tax revenue it brings for the city, the amusement, the fact that people are able to come up and see what's at the top of that building.
And the buzz around it too, it's like all the people that come up there and then they post it or they tell their friends about this experience they had at the Pittsfield. Now the Pittsfield has this different image, it has this different brand, it has this impact on the city that's immeasurable, versus before the Pittsfield has had a black eye, 2 black eyes, fat lip for the last couple decades, right?
That's right, that's right.
Wow.
So yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, I thought I did my homework before coming to meet you here, and I did not appreciate this project.
Yeah, no worries, man. There's a lot to see.
It's incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but that's it, top to bottom, there we're in.
Love what you're doing, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Love the energy. Keep at it. Excited to see the next one too.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.